All right, welcome back, folks. We have Dane and Corey with us today from DeFi Crypto Alliance. This is going to be a real fun conversation, so please stick around for the entirety of it because we're going to jump around pretty quick, and we're just going to get into it. So, Dane and Corey, you guys have an extensive real estate background. You have we see all the banners in your background, so obviously you guys are into crypto. So, we're going to talk a little bit about that. And then we're also going to talk about real estate tokenization, which is like the future of real estate. I actually spoke on stage at an event in LA about real estate tokenization, and man, it is coming. So if you don't know about it, stick around. These guys are going to educate you. They're going to tell you more about what they're doing in that space. And this is going to be some pretty exciting stuff. So, Corey, Dane, why don't you kick it off? Tell us a little bit about the last 10 years of your real estate experience.
Yeah, I'll dive into that, Tony. So I got into real estate about 10 years ago. Just like anybody else, I was just chasing the dollar. I wanted to make more money, right? I used to watch that Flip or Flop show with Tarek Al Musa, and I had some money saved up from my previous job or the job I had at the time, and I decided to flip a house. And it took me 6 months. I made 8 grand. And my third deal, I lost my butt. I lost a bunch of money. But it led me down the rabbit hole of really getting around entrepreneurs, learning how to, create value in the world. In fact, I tell people, Tony, that real estate saved my life. When I got into it, I was chasing the dollar. I was a drug addict. I was an alcoholic. I was single, going nowhere with my life. I mean, I was going somewhere, and it was my deathbed, to be honest with you. That's where I was going. And so through chasing money, it actually brought me to it forced me to level up spiritually, mentally, physically, and financially. I think God just knew what to carrot to dangle in front of me to basically, change my life. And now I have a family and I live in Puerto Rico and I've been sober for multiple years. It's an absolutely amazing blessing that I got that out of real estate. I really did, from being around like-minded people, being in masterminds, people always trying to get better. But I tell you, about 2022, I built a multi-million dollar real estate company. We were doing about 30, anywhere from 30 to 60 deals a month. Most of them were novations. I created a course called Novation Nation. That was our stick. We love doing novation deals. But I found that I was miserable because I had built myself a prison that made me a millionaire. But regardless, I was in this prison, and I was working 15 hours a day. I was in multiple lawsuits at any given time. I was with a lawsuit with the FTC for text messaging. I had the attorney general. I was hiring and firing like crazy. It was a nightmare. And so I went on a spiritual journey in 2022, and I'd already been dabbling with cryptocurrency, and it was shown to me. By the way, if any of your listeners want to know what inspired me to do this, read the book, The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. Absolutely amazing. It will teach you how to stop clawing your way to success in life, to letting the universe or God show you the way to success in life. And I was shown cryptocurrency. And by the end of 2022, I was making so much in passive income in cryptocurrency that it paled in comparison to my real estate company. And that's when I did shut my real estate company down and moved to Puerto Rico. And I haven't looked back since. I have bought my time freedom back. And now I even make more money than I was making in real estate, which I was making a lot in real estate. I was doing well. The money was never the issue. But now I'm making more than I was in the real estate company. I mean, I have all the freedom and time. I do what I want with whom I want, however I want. And that's with my family. And I've got two young daughters. Well, I got one daughter, 2.5-year-old, and I got another 13-year-old. The 13-year-old just came from China. She's my half or my stepdaughter, but the 2.5-year-old, man, I'm 47, so I need to build an amazing life for her. And cryptocurrency, man, is a foundation for that. And we have been blessed to really go deep into this asset class. And now, with using crypto as a wealth creation tool, because where we're at in the market cycle, we're going to be able to go back into real estate and use real estate the way it was intended to be used, as wealth preservation. Instead of trying to create wealth out of real estate, I want to preserve wealth with real estate. And so that's kind of where my story is, where I'm at now today. And now we help real estate entrepreneurs to do the same. We have 175 people in our community, and it's awesome, and it's growing. And whether they want time freedom or just to add a little bit of exposure in this asset class so they can help, get to their real estate goals faster. It works really well for that because crypto is the highest appreciating asset class known to mankind.
Well, Corey, thank you for sharing some of that very personal data. You really had a journey, and
It's
I'm
been a
glad you.
journey, man.
Yeah, I'm glad you came out. Very, very well, very successful, very healthy on the other side of that
Oh,
journey.
I'm blessed, man. Every day I wake up, the first thing I do is pray and I thank God for my life that I have today.
Yeah,
It could have gone way differently.
yeah, we have a lot of opportunities in front of us here, and we just gotta be in that right mindset to be able to take hold. I do a lot of coaching with folks, and so funny you mentioned a lot of things in that 4-minute soundbite. You mentioned so much and so valuable. Mindset is huge. Right. So
It
I'm just
is.
going to remind folks there. I talk a lot about it on my channel and my podcast, things like that. In the coaching, we do a lot of work on that. You have to be in the right mindset, because if you're negative, or you're with the wrong people, or whatever it is, you have bad habits, we want to break that. We need to get you in the right mindset. Obviously, you have great mindset because of the habits that you've built up over time. So again,
It
for the
wasn't
audience,
overnight.
for the listeners, mindset is huge, and you see it here with Corey. So that was one thing I wanted to double back on. The other thing was, again, I see a lot of folks who get into real estate, and they want to be free and they want to break away from their job. All they end up doing is buying a whole bunch of real estate and creating a second job for themselves. And it's like, what the heck are you doing, right? Real estate is meant to create freedom for ourselves. Again, for the audience, for the listeners, be careful when you're like, know your why, know really what you want to achieve, and really work on financial freedom. Careful with using real estate and then just buying so much and creating so much of a churn such that it becomes another job, because that's not what we want for each other. The third thing I'm going to mention is super powerful, and I do a lot of work on this, is network. Your network, and you mentioned it right out of the gate. You were probably hanging out with the wrong crowd, wrong people, wrong mindset. You have to put yourself in the right room, in the right atmosphere,
Yep.
with the right friends, with the right people. Join a mastermind, right? Go to local events, local conferences where people are all mentally in the right mindset already and willing and able to help you and us and me achieve more in our lives. It's amazing. I go to so many conferences, and
Us
the
too.
data and information people share, it's like, I just think to myself, and I use this as an example, like if I was going to like a pharmaceutical conference, would they all be sharing the same tips and tricks at a pharmaceutical conference? Probably not. They'd probably be holding that real close to the vest. But I go to these real estate conferences, and man, people are sharing like, oh yeah, this is how I buy property. This is how I find deals. This is how I, finance. This is how I deal with tenants. They're sharing all like their best stuff. I wrote an article last week. I'm writing another one this week, and I'm like, man, this is like, it's actually a pleasure to share some of this stuff with folks. So I appreciate you sharing your journey, Corey. Dane, did you want to add anything to that, or was yours, somewhat similar with real estate?
No, yeah, Corey has just a killer story. Mine's similar in some ways, different in others. I'll give you just a brief synopsis. So I was working in the corporate America. I'd really bought into the idea of like safe job with benefits, all that lie that I'd bought into. And so I went and did way too much school. I went and got a master's degree, and I thought that would give me the keys to the kingdom where I could make a bunch of money and have a nice office and have good benefits. And it was really shocking to me how that wasn't the case. I had to apply for a bunch of positions just to get hired out of college. And even then in corporate America, it was amazing to me to see how much butts I had to kiss, people I had to simp to in order to like climb the ladder. It wasn't just about doing good work.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of people that have had a similar experience and been disenchanted with corporate America, and they want to do something different. And that's my story. I started just digging around on YouTube and podcasts, reading books. And one of the common themes about creating financial freedom was real estate. It was really clear to me. And so I was like, well, if real estate's where the money's at, then I'll just go figure that out. So I got let go. I was let go. Our entire branch was shut down. There was about 100 people at my branch. They closed up shop, and it was one of the biggest blessings of my life because I could go off and I had a little bit of runway to now invest in real estate. in 3 months, or in my first 6 months, I'd done one deal. I'd spent $6,500 in marketing. I'd made $3,500 of it back on this one little skinny deal. And man, I was at a tight spot. I was pretty well out of money at that point. My wife came to me and she said, "Look, I believe in you. We've got to make some money. You either need to figure out a way to do deals, or you got to get a job." And I said, "You know what? You're not wrong." And so I'm telling you, like, Corey's had a entrepreneurship is as much a spiritual journey as it is anything else, for Corey and for me. That's definitely something we have in common. And so I'd go to apply for these jobs. I told my wife I would, and everything in me said that was wrong. It was a terrible decision. It was really fun. I'd put my hands on the keyboard and it was like, nope. I'd take them off and everything was fine. I put my hands on the keyboard, nope. And I'm like, okay, this is very clear. And so I nailed down on the ground and I said, "Look, God, like, I've been trying this real estate thing. I've been trying for 6 months, and it's not working that well. I know that it can, and I feel like I'm in the right place. So, like, shake something loose if this is what you want me to do." And so I went and I got a tax delinquent list, property list from my local county. Unbeknownst to me, that's one of the most competitive lists you can get. But I got that freaking list. I skip traced it, so I had the phone numbers. I told God that night, I said, "You know what? I'm gonna call this list until I either do some deals and make some money, or I lose our house and cars because we can't make the payments. Those are my options." And I wouldn't tell my wife that was the case. I didn't tell her, but that was the deal I made with God, and it felt right. And man, this isn't everyone's experience, but I was really blessed. In about 2 weeks of me making calls, I called into a gentleman. There was all sorts of problems that occurred with this deal. I got it under contract, got through all the problems, and got to the closing table, and I made a check on that deal where I made 70K on that second deal as a wholesale fee. And that was as much as I was supposed to make in corporate America the whole year that I was employed in it. And it blew my mind. And so I was off to the races at that point, and it's been a really cool journey. I love real estate. It's taught me so much. And in fact, to your point, one of the things that's taught me, I remember going to one of my conferences, and one of the guys that was a truth teller, he sat down and he was talking us through the numbers. And I love how he said not to make it a job. Most people make it a job. And frankly, in my opinion, I think the reason most people make real estate a job is because actually creating financial freedom through it, it's not easy. Like we can do the math really simply, right? Let's say that you're buying rentals and your net cash flow, your take home at the end of every single month is $300. Heck, let's be generous. Let's say it's $500 for easy math's sake, right? Say it's $500. Well, how many properties do you need to buy on $500 a month to, like, really sit on a beach while the money just rolls in and account for unforeseen problems that are bound to occur? Well, I mean, if we say, okay, $500, times by 10 doors, well, you're at $5,000, but most people, like, $5,000 isn't going to get you out of bed in the morning. It's not going to pay for everything. So let's double that. We say 20 doors, that gets you to $10,000 a month. But now you have one bad tenant come through and destroy one of your properties, rehabs 30K. So $10,000 doesn't do it. I mean, I think before it even gets remotely interesting, like, you've got to be making $20,000 a month on your rental portfolio. So now we're at 40 doors. I mean, and 40 door, that's a lot of money, and that's a lot of time to get there. And so I think you've got to ask yourself, like, how do you want to skin the cat here? How do you want to approach real estate? We've been incredibly blessed from real estate, and we've been able to build businesses that have given us some freedom. But man, being able to lever other opportunities to be able to get to some of those door counts or unit counts has been one of the most effective things that we've done.
Dane, thank you for sharing your background. I mean, and the purpose of this is to share with folks, you guys come with a lot of real estate experience, which is gonna, we're gonna continue to talk a little bit about real estate in this conversation, but it's that experience that you come with is gonna serve you well in terms of the things you're doing today and the things you're gonna be doing in the future. So that's important for us to have that perspective of where you came from. I think that's super, super important for us. And there's a lot of stuff you mentioned, Dane, that I would just love to pick apart and talk like deeper dives into, but we're limited on time. So maybe we do another one of these in the future. Because there's so much. I hope the audience and the listeners appreciate, like, Corey and Dane, man, wealth of knowledge here. Like, go look them up, seriously. Like, go look them up, DeFi Crypto Alliance. Like, see who they are, see what they're doing. Like, super smart young guys here, like, who are actually taking action. True entrepreneurs, like, doing well, creating financial freedom for themselves and for others. So this is awesome. But let's talk a little bit about what you're doing today. We see a lot of the crypto signs and banners in your background, and Corey was surprised that I was able to recognize the hex symbol back there. I know a little bit about hex, not much, but why don't you guys, whoever, Corey or Dane, take us down the path of what you guys are doing today?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'll start really quick, Corey.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah. Perfect.
I think it's an easy segue into back to the idea of like creating financial freedom. If you do it through real estate, well, how many units? Well, we talked about the math. You need, I mean, theoretically, 40 units at $500 a month. That's being pretty generous just before things start getting interesting. And man, so I'm looking at those numbers, and after I built a rental portfolio, I got to 25 units, and frankly hated it. Like I hated owning those rentals. It was brutal because the cash flow
You should have
sucked.
sold them to me.
Yeah, I wish you
At a
should have
discount.
called me. I'd have sold all of them to you. Like it wasn't fun. It wasn't, for once again, I'm just speaking for me. It wasn't
Yeah.
something that I enjoyed doing, running that side of the business. Now I love parking money in deals. Love being the money person. I just don't want to be the operator where I've got to manage, or the deal finder. I don't love doing those two things, but I really like being the money in deals. And so I took a step back a few years ago, but Corey and I, and we put our heads together and said, what can we do to be able to get more freedom? And the way that you can grow your capital with cryptocurrency compared to anything else, it puts everything to shame. When you're looking at crypto, I mean, we had one of our guys in our community turn 3 grand into 350K in 4 days last
Wow.
week. Maybe it was a week before. We had another guy turn a few grand into over 6 figures, same time frame a few weeks ago. When crypto's hot, there's nothing that's even close. And so, like, what do you need to do to get to your financial freedom numbers? Well, you need money. You need money, or you need the ability to raise it. And the cool thing with cryptocurrency is we can grow our money so rapidly during the good part of it. And the good part isn't very long, but during the good part, if you can just understand the cycles, it's the same as real estate. If you can understand the time frames and you can develop a buy box to be able to have criteria to say, hey, this is how I can find good deals, well, then you can do really, really, really well. And so that's right where Corey and I pivoted a few years ago to focus just on crypto, because right now it's the biggest opportunity in the world. And we help other investors do the same thing, where our guys want to get exposure to cryptocurrency in a way that they can grow their wealth and then take profits and go grow their passive income in real estate, in businesses, and oil and gas. And so we help people run the gamut.
So what I like there is obviously creating more wealth, helping people create more wealth, more financial freedom. But what I like, really like what you said, basically being the bank, not being the operator for real estate, but finding a means in order to which you can now have sufficient funds where you can play the role of the bank. You actually own the papers. You are the first one on the list, such that if that property goes into foreclosure, you can actually foreclose on that asset if that owner doesn't. And so you always have the asset, right? Either it's going to be the money coming back to you in monthly payments with interest, right? So either it's that, or if it doesn't perform, if the owner doesn't perform, you get the asset. So either way, playing the bank, you get assets.
Yeah, you
So
win.
I love that aspect. I truly do. Corey, anything you want to add to that?
I think you hit the nail on the head, to be honest with you. The only component I would add on is that, with cryptocurrency, what most investors don't understand is you can actually make passive income in crypto too while you're waiting for price appreciation. So I'll give you an example. Most people go to a Coinbase, they buy Ethereum, and they hope the number go up. And then I ask that same person, I'd be like, well, would you ever buy a rental property and not put a tenant place? They go, no. But then why do you treat your crypto like that? You could take the Ethereum off of Coinbase, put it onto the Ethereum blockchain the way it was intended to be used. And Ethereum's a mining token. It's a gas token and a mining token. And you can put that Ethereum to work for you, and it will mine the blocks on the Ethereum network and earn you more Ethereum.
Yeah.
It's earning you passive income. Your computer does all the work. It's not passive for the computer, but it's passive for humans. And we like that because we're human. So we want passive income, and crypto offers that opportunity to us, truly passive income, while you're waiting for these gains, while you're playing the market cycle and getting the price appreciation to it. So it's twofold. And so that's what we help investors understand and educate them on. And then that way they can put a little exposure in the portfolio. To Dane's point, they might want to come back and 10x their real estate goes. They might want to, buy that apartment complex or whatever it is. And if you play the cycles just right, you could do that. Cryptocurrency, the really cool part is everything has cycles, everything. But in crypto, you can pinpoint it down to the month where you're at in the cycle. Literally down to the month, and smart money plays this cycle every single time. In fact, did you know with Hex was one of those plays last cycle. If you would have got in at the bottom of the accumulation zone and held through the bull run, you would have made a 10,000x, meaning for every $1,000 you put in, you could have made $10 million. That's right. You heard me right. It's wild. In fact, in Puerto Rico, I know about 30 of the guys out here that live in Puerto Rico that did just that with Hex. Wow. And so it's just a matter of doing your due diligence and placing yourself in the right assets during the right time of the market cycle. And the market cycle, man, like I said, once again, and what's so beautiful about it is that it's very repeatable, cyclical. It's like, right where you're at with it. And you don't get that with real estate or stocks. You kind of have an idea where you're at with real estate. I mean, we do because we do it so much, and we kind of know the ebbs and flows, but everything has cycles, but it's not as predictable as crypto, which is why we love it. So
I love what you said in terms of, being able to invest in something like Ethereum and then be able to put it back on the blockchain and have it earn interest for you, in essence, right? And
right.
Remind me, I think Bitcoin and Hex, they can both do the same, right?
Bitcoin, you cannot really, you can mine Bitcoin, but you need expensive hardware, and it's called proof of work. It takes a lot of electricity. It's very expensive, and most miners actually mine at a loss. They mine all cycle, and hopefully they make money during the bull run. Hex, yes, Hex is a staking token, but it just earns inflation. It earns a very set amount of inflation, so it's been sustainable for the most part, but it's not a mining. You're not actually supporting a network. So we do like Hex. I have Hex, and I have Hex that's staked. That's earning me interest, but it's not crazy amounts of money. You got to have a lot of Hex. Hex is better as holding it for speculation, for appreciation, because it does things like it did a 10,000x last cycle. It probably won't do a 10,000x this cycle, but maybe I get a 20x or 50x off of it because it's on its second cycle. And I'm cool with a 50x on Hex. But I am buying some new stuff this cycle that might give me that 100x, 1,000x. Who knows? Maybe 10,000x. I don't know. But I'm buying newer stuff too to put in my portfolio. The idea is you want to have a well-balanced portfolio. Some stuff that's been around that you're not going to get the big 10,000x's no more out of it. And that's fine because they're sustainable. And then some new stuff that if it goes to zero, not a big deal, but if it does a 10,000x, it literally changes your portfolio. So
obviously we have to have a balanced portfolio, right? We want to be able to have security in maybe some crypto assets and maybe a little more risk in other crypto assets. And one of the things I look for are these asymmetric plays where you can invest $1,000 in, say, a certain crypto asset, and if that goes to zero, you've lost $1,000. And for most of us who would be investing in it, it's kind of like, that sucks, but it's not going to like take food off the table, so to speak, right? Whereas if you do have that 10x or that 100x, that's a true asymmetric play where there's little downside, right? Little downside, but tremendous upside, 10x, 100x, to be able to really create that wealth, create that nest egg that now you can go ahead and either keep it there or diversify at that point into other either crypto assets or real estate, but assets. We want to own assets. We don't want to own dollars, so to speak. We see what's happening with the dollar and the inflation rates and, all that. It's been happening for 100 years. Just look at the charts. It's not going to reverse. I guarantee that. So we all know, we all understand we don't want to hold dollars. We want to hold assets. So I appreciate that explanation, diversification, as well as what different crypto assets can do for us. But now I want to switch over. Now we know you did real estate, super successful in that. Currently, you're doing crypto, and you're buying assets with crypto, and you're super successful with that. I want to talk about the future of real estate and real estate tokenization. That's a whole new world that folks are just venturing into. Can you, first of all, help us, for the audience, help us understand real estate tokenization and what the potential is there?
Dane, why don't you paint the picture and I'll dive into some of the specifics.
Okay, I like it. So, so real estate, I mean, let's just talk about tokenization in general. The idea of tokenization is taking something in the real world, or at least in the context we're going to talk about here, taking something in the real world and creating ownership via typically like an NFT, for instance, on the blockchain. And it just represents your ownership. So you have like a deed to a property, that deed represents your ownership, and that's usually recorded at like the county, for instance. What we're talking about here is, well, what if instead of it being recorded at the county level, where, you know, Martha at the county office takes time off and gets sick and records things improperly? Well, what if you could do that instead on the blockchain, where code runs things, it takes no time off, it makes no mistakes, and it's open 24/7. Those are some of the general benefits of tokenization and what it can provide. Now, there's some things that work, some things that don't. You know, real estate in general as a whole is probably still ways away from tokenization making, you know, doing like deeds and title work on the blockchain. I mean, if Martha can record it wrong at the county level, she can record it wrong on the blockchain too. So that doesn't, you know, it doesn't necessarily solve anything there. But where you could solve some inefficiencies, Corey, go ahead and take that one.
So some of the inefficiencies of real estate is, what's the biggest one? It's not liquid. It's not liquid, and you have to go get funding. You got to raise money. You have all these issues with trying to, you know, fund the property. Where if you could tap into a place that has worldwide liquidity, and I'm talking billions, if not trillions of dollars, that could fund your deal almost instantaneous without banks, that would be a benefit to the real estate community, to the asset class. Well, that's what crypto can do. I mean, I know guys here in Puerto Rico that are worth $250 million, and then all their net worth is in crypto. They have no idea how to access real estate. They have no clue because they've never learned it. They don't understand it. But if somebody were to give this to them on the blockchain, they would understand that, oh, I just buy the token or I invest in the token, and now they get exposure into the real estate space. Another problem that we have is how liquid the real estate is when you own it. And so right now we've heard of tokenization in the form of NFTs, where basically you just get your share that's represented in the property. You're still having a problem of liquidity. Well, in the last month, being that me and Dana really tapped into what's going on in the space, in the last month, maybe 2 months, there's been a new technology emerge where basically it's NFT fractionalization. So you can fractionalize off your NFT and sell it via liquidity pools in DeFi, meaning you're selling and buying it through the worldwide liquidity pools that is crypto. And so you can sell off a piece of your share at any time and get money for it and tap into that liquidity, or vice versa. If you wanted to top up your shares, you could go and just buy it right off a decentralized exchange and buy some more shares of that real estate property that you were interested in. So cryptocurrency is going to be able to solve the problem of liquidity when it comes to being how illiquid real estate is, and funding those deals without banks or, you know, going and raising private money and all the hassle that takes. And that's where we're going to really tackle the issue now with the deeds and all that. You know, I feel like the future will come when we integrate AI and blockchain together, where we can get rid of Martha over down at the county recorder office. The AI can do it. The AI is trusted. It's just code. And the blockchain, it's always there. It's imprinted in the blockchain forever. It's never going to go away. And so like you merge these two techs together, and that's where we're going to really see these tokenizations and deeds and title work and even realtors, stuff that goes, everything's tied to real estate will be gone. It'll be no more point to have, it'll be useless jobs because the AI and blockchain has taken over all of that. So that's the future. But in the meantime, let's solve the problem of funding our deals and how liquid our deals are. We can do that today with the blockchain. In fact, me and Dane are working on that right now.
I absolutely agree with you in terms of the liquidity piece, because obviously we've all done real estate. We know how hard it can be
It
to
sucks.
raise capital to buy real estate. And so the thing I want to touch on with liquidity is something you mentioned, Corey, and that's, you have all these, multimillionaires, if not billionaires, who have tons of money. They want to put into deals because they hold it in crypto. They want to find a way to get it into real estate, and real estate tokenization will be a way for them to more smoothly execute those things. But let's also talk a little bit about the folks who aren't millionaires, who are just starting, and this fractionalization that you had mentioned, right? This
Yep.
gives people on the other end of the spectrum, right, who are just starting out, maybe they're 20, 25, 30 years old, just starting in their careers. They don't have millions. But you know what? Maybe they have 20,000 they want to invest in a real estate asset. Real estate tokenization gives them that ability, right? So it levels this playing field, right? You don't have to be a multimillionaire to invest in real estate. Through real estate tokenization, that levels the playing field. And I totally agree with you with AI. As the technology matures, I don't think this is going to be like in the next 5 years, but maybe the next 10 years, we're going to be in a space where
my daughter's lifetime.
Yeah, absolutely, right? All this technology, the blockchain is going to be more mature. Crypto is going to be more mature in 10 years. The AI and the integration of all these things are going to be so much more mature. In 10 years, I see this being kind of like commonplace. Maybe some listeners out there are kind of like, wow, these guys are, I mean, this is like Star Trek, or we're talking so far into the future. But it really isn't. The analogy I use is with the stock market. Remember, like 100 years ago, people would actually go physically get on their horse, go ride to the exchange with cash in pocket, and they would go to the counter and they say, I want to buy so many shares of AT&T or whatever it was. I don't know. Studebaker back in the time, right? I don't know. Studebaker actually used to be on the exchange, right? It's not anymore. So they would say, hey, I want to buy 100 shares of Studebaker, and they would get the actual certificates. Right? It would be written out to their name. They'd get the physical certificates. They'd go back home and go from there. It doesn't work that way anymore. That was terribly inefficient. And so now we have a network, right? We all probably trade stocks on our mobile devices these days, our smartphones. I know I do. And you never even see a certificate, right, saying you own 100 shares of Apple. You never see that, but it's recorded in the general ledger for either the Schwab platform or Ameritrade or whichever platform you may use. But look how far that has come. We trust it, right? We trust it implicitly, and we use it, and it's incredibly frictionless for the most part, right? It's frictionless. Right now, we have some issues like Dane had mentioned, right? The legislation isn't fully there. We don't know the mechanics of how this is going to be vetted and approved. And so there's some regulation and it's still a little bit of the Wild West, a little bit. Those things, they will get worked out because there's an industry here to be had with real estate tokenization. We're not there yet, but it's coming. I don't know. You guys think I'm on the right path there?
And I mean, there's a giant land grab going on right now, but before everyone's knows. Most people just don't know what they're looking at, though. So, imagine the early days of the internet when people thought that the internet would only be used for academics to publish findings for their research at universities. Well, it's way bigger than that now.
Yeah.
And think about the push with I was in junior high when Napster came out, and I had dial-up internet and praying that my little brother didn't pick up the phone during this 4-hour download to download one song. You look at things like that. Those are huge evolutions in the internet and what's going on. And we're about to take and are already taking a huge leap forward. And so there's a unique opportunity right now that if you can jump in, you can understand, you don't have to be an expert, but if you can start to grasp what's going on, you're going to have such a huge advantage over everyone else. It's not even close. In fact, did you know, Tony, that the US government has their own cryptocurrency that they launched last year? Did you know
Outside of
this?
like central bank digital currency,
So
outside of that?
CBDCs is called Fed Now, right?
Oh
Are you
yeah,
familiar with
yep,
Fed Now?
yep,
Yep.
yeah, yeah. Only
So
banks can transfer. It's not open to the
Right
public
now,
yet, right?
right
right
now,
now.
Yeah, right.
right.
It's coming though. It's
It's
coming.
coming.
Yeah.
Right.
Eh,
So everything's going more digital,
yeah.
like things aren't becoming less, they're going more digital. And it's just a matter of time until, like it's in the government's best interest and in their own self-interest to have everything digital so they can easily manipulate and control things more in that respect. And so in our opinion, like you have a couple of different options to be able to deal with that.
Yeah.
One, on the premise that we're going to a cashless society, we think there will be two systems and they'll run kind of side by side. The first is you'll have the centralized banking system, kind of like we have now, where, like banks are going to do what they're going to do. They're going to do bad deals behind closed doors. No one ever goes to jail. They get slapped on the wrist with a fine, and they do that every 10 years or so, and you hear about some debacle every decade. It's silly. It's silly, but that's the way the system's built, and you'll continue to have that, but on a more digital scale. So imagine saying something on social media that the government or banks don't like. Imagine jaywalking across the street and camera catching you and not liking. And literally all of these things can be used against you to determine your spending power at the gas pump, at the
Yeah.
grocery store, at the clothing store. I mean, there's all those things. This is coming. This already is live and well in China. It's coming here to the United States and other countries across the world. Or you have the opportunity to learn real crypto. It's called DeFi, decentralized finance, where you can be the one that, like you said, Tony, before, you can be your own bank. You can manage your own assets. If Silicon Valley Bank or one of these other banks goes out of business, well, me and Corey's money isn't stuck because we know how to custody our own money. We know how to hold it on the blockchain and keep it safe so that we don't get stuck. And people have an opportunity to choose between those two systems now. If you don't make a decision soon, the decision will be made for you and it won't be in your favor, and you'll be a slave to the current to the government system that they're launching.
There's so much truth to that, Dane, and we can create a whole nother
Yes.
Oh,
episode.
we could talk for 10 hours about that.
Yeah.
We can. And so that is truth. These guys do a lot of research. I do a lot of research. There's a lot of folks out there who are, at the end of the day, we're all trying to protect our wealth and our freedom.
Mhm.
And for those that don't have wealth nor freedom, we're also trying to help them for what it's worth, right? That's why we do these podcasts and these videos, is because we don't make any money doing this, right? We're just spreading the word. We're trying to educate folks. So please, if there's interest in crypto or how these guys are doing this, reach out to them. DeFi Crypto Alliance. Corey and Dane, I appreciate you so much for your time here today. Is there any other way folks can find you, either on social or email address, or how do they find
Yes,
you?
social's fine for me. Corey Geary on Facebook, and it's the Corey Geary on Instagram. And if you DM me there, like it's me answering, it's not a VA. So you can DM me and ask about, some questions about crypto, or if you want to inquire more about our community or what we're doing, what our mission is. I'd be more than happy to talk about it. So yeah, Corey Geary, Facebook, the Corey Geary on Instagram.
Yep. On Instagram, you can find me. Mine is Money Talk with Dane. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook, all that type of stuff. Or you can go to our website at cryptocashflowsystems.com, cryptocashflowsystems.com, and you can kind of see what we're about, what we've got going on there. And you can even book a call to chat with our team if you want, just to be able to talk through what it is that you may have going on, what your goals are, just to see if we can help. And if we can, we'd love to do that.
You guys are awesome. I appreciate the work you're doing, trying to help folks out there. I truly appreciate it. Thanks for your time today. And for the audience, go check these guys out. They truly are awesome. So thanks for being on, guys. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Tony.
Thanks,
We
Tony.
appreciate it.